Hey everybody, welcome to Responsible with Venomous. For today's episode, I'm going to show you how I add some water inside of the water bowls of the baby Taipans. And the reason for doing this is just to show you how incredibly fast and how incredibly alert these baby Taipans can be. Sometimes I get away with it pretty easy, but most of the times they're just flying out of the containers and of course, it's pretty obvious that when the containers are small like this, um, the chances of them fleeing around are pretty big. But just to give you an idea that even the smallest and the youngest Taipans are just as dangerous as their parents are, except for the fact that their parents, of course, are much more bigger. I mean, the parents of these Taipans are probably around the 2 meters. But you can follow their movements much more easier when they're adult, and when they're so small they're just like little spaghetti, and it's very difficult to keep them in place, and especially in these tiny containers, it's harder to take care of them. But the main reason I put them in this rack system has to do for the fact that they are pretty small, and normal enclosures they have some space in between the windows, and for baby taipans with a high intelligence, it's pretty dangerous to put them inside of those kind of enclosures because they will escape. And to prevent that, I would rather keep them a little bit smaller. It's not hurting them, it's not making them angry. I mean, taipans are born angry already. So to give you just a few on how it looks to do some daily maintenance, I got here a little video. One thing that's very important with working with taipans, you have to make sure that you have zero contact with the animal as much as possible. So even when opening the enclosures, I do everything with tools, whether I use a snake hook or I use a tweezer to open up the containers, and just to pull them forward, just to make sure that I will not be in contact with the snakes as much as possible, because every interaction with these taipans will cause them to explode out of the enclosure, and that's something I want to prevent. So I just walk you through. I put my hook in the side of the container, and then I pull it out a little, and just a little baby papoon taipan. And you already see that he knows what's going to happen, or at least he knows that something's going to happen. Now I have to be very carefully, and I have to make some slow movements, because if I'm going in too quick, the animal would just jump out right away. And what I do in many occasions is that I let the animal figure out what's going on. There's a possibility that the animal is now thinking, okay, I'm going to be fed, and then he will be in feeding mode, and that's something I want to prevent. So I just let him figure out what's going on, and then I carefully have to pick up the water bowl, and I do this with a long tweezer. And there's one thing you cannot see in this video, and that's that I'm wearing the Hex Armor Defender gloves, just for my safety, because if they really want to come out to bite me, then they probably will be much quicker than I can pull my arms away. So I always use my Hex Armor Defender gloves when working, even with these small baby taipans. And remember that even the little ones, they have exactly the same venom as their parents, maybe even more toxic, and that has nothing to do with the fact that they share the same amount of venom, but it has to do with the fact that little taipans, the combination of toxins, it can vary a little among the young ones and the adults, because when taipans are so small and that goes for other venomous snakes as well. The babies are much more vulnerable and they have to protect themselves against large predators, and that's mainly the reason that sometimes baby venomous snakes are a little bit more toxic than their parents. Whether you are going to be bitten by a baby taipan or an adult, it equals up to toxicity or to the amount of venom that they have. So now that's pretty simple. So now I have the water bowl. I use those tiny cups because yeah, the animals are so small. And I always decide to get the water bowl outside of the enclosure and not filling it up inside of the enclosure, because if I would, then even watering the animals can cause them to explode outside of the container. So just for safety precautions, I always get the water bowl outside of the enclosure. I fill it up right here. And then the same way as I took the water bowl, I'm going to put the water bowl back in the enclosure. First, I have to get on my gloves again. And that's number one. Number two. And this one right here is a baby coastal taipan. And luckily for me, the taipan is right in the back of the enclosure and the water bowl is in front of the cage. So it's a little bit more easy to get it out. Still have to be very carefully, because you already see there's some attention. And I'm not really a fan of doing taipan camps or whatsoever, because there's not one single taipan that I trust. Luckily for me, this one decides to stay in the back of the container, but that probably will be for a few seconds, because the animal is already getting a little bit nervous. He doesn't know what's going on, and I can tell the animal that I'm going to get the water bowl out to give him some fresh water, but what does he know, huh? So I'm not going to spend much time to do this. So the water bowl is out. Fill it up again. And giving the taipan his water bowl back. Right there. And close. And now we're going to do the third one. And for me, the third one is always like, if something goes wrong, it's always with the third animal. And there we go. Hey there, little dude. I just want to pick up your water bowl and do it very carefully. I'm not going to hurt you. Hey, little one. They always move so nervous. Yeah. And I find them ridiculously beautiful. I mean, currently most of them are in shed now, so you don't even see the true colors of the animals. The water bowl is filled. And then back goes the water bowl. So when I'm filming this, it really looks like an easy task, but it goes pretty smooth. And this little fella has its water bowl right in the back, and the animal is lying in the middle of it. So this one is a little bit more difficult to do, but I just have to pay attention to the snake and very carefully try to get the water bowl, it's right over there, without him crossing to jump out of the enclosure, and that was a little strike. Why do you do that? I'm not going to hurt you. Water bowl out, container closed, filling up the water bowl, getting the water bowl back in the container. And then the next one, I hope this goes smooth. Hey little dude, what's going on? No, you're not going to figure out what's outside of the enclosure. I'm here. And I'm just gonna steal your water bowl. And close it up. Because the last thing you want is a Taipan on your loose. You're not going to make this hard for me, are you? Here's some water. You can do the math. And that's that.